Hello everyone, thanks for coming back. This is the fifth installment of my short story, Purple Jesus. I'm going to continue today where we left off last night. She was naked, both on the canvas and in life. She scrambled off her platform, knocking over several chairs and easels before finding her robe. She was familiar, too, not her body, which was unblemished and pale, thin at the waist, but with powerful, athletic thighs, and quickly covered, but in her face and voice. As soon as she robed, she backed away, screaming the whole time. I held my hands up in the internationally accepted gesture of conciliation, and would have run out of the room myself if she'd not blocked the door. I set my shoes on the table with the paints. "Look," I started to say, but could get no further. All I wanted to do was leave, go home, maybe cuddle with the squishy bottle, reacquaint myself with my long-denied friend. No one knew about my 3 dry days, so my resumption of a normal routine would disappoint no one. But I was saddened to realize that my dryness was fleeting, that I'd be nursing a hangover in the morning, longing for another bottle from the hedge, or slinking to the 7-Eleven for the early morning Mad Dog tonic. Who would I have told about being dry anyway? Whose hopes would I want to elevate and dash? Still, if not drinking meant I'd end up sneaking through my old middle school at night, frightening naked young women, perhaps I was better off soused. If any night deserved a few pops to help bolt shut the doors, it was this one. Before it could explain, the artist was back in the room, panting, having apparently run from the car with his cooler, which he dropped, spilling the contents on the floor. Sandwiches and grapes fanned across the paint-spattered tile. He armed himself with a stool and held it between us. He thrust at me and told me to get back because he didn't want to hurt me. He wore a tattered black t-shirt, and his hair was pulled into a ponytail, feathery strands falling from the elastic and framing his cheeks, a grown echo of the boys for whom my brother ditched me. The artist didn't respond to my outstretched hands or my exhortations of peace. He simply charged ahead, pushing me deeper into the room, away from the door. "Please," I said, but he must have heard something different, something that injected adrenaline through his nervous system, because he jabbed forward one last time. The leg of the stool nearly connected with my cheek. I lost my balance and fell, slamming my head into a shelving unit. Once I was down, he stopped his pursuit and watched as a series of paint cans fell from the shelves and landed on my head and shoulders. "You asshole," I said. He backed away, clutching his weapon. The back of my head had caught a metal clasp, and I could tell without looking that I was bleeding. "I was trying to tell you that I didn't mean to frighten anyone. I was as surprised as you were." "No one's supposed to be here," the artist said. "No one but us." "I have permission." "I didn't get the memo," I said. I put my hand on the back of my head and my fingers came away yellow. On the floor next to me lay an open can of paint. A yellow bloom spread over the tiles. Paint dripped down my head onto my sleeves, and I stood up. "Who are you?" the artist said. "Does it matter? You don't know me. I thought the school was empty. I didn't notice the light until you came out, and I came in to look at your painting, and she freaked out. Why are you walking around the school?" The model had her cell phone in her hand, but she wasn't dialing. I found a box of rags and was sopping up the worst of the paint. Each pass pressed the yellow more firmly into my scalp. I ran a series of rags over my head until my hair was an ochre helmet. "My daughter is starting here," I said. "I missed the orientation." The back door was unlocked. "That's our fault," the model said. "We should have checked the latch." She cupped her chin and studied me. The back of my head hurt. I tried to focus, but without my glasses, all was a yellow fog. "Mr. Denning," she said. "It's me, Mary Nilsson. I used to babysit for your daughter when I was in high school." "There were a lot of babysitters," I said. "I was at your house every day the summer after I graduated," she said. That was forever ago, 7 years. I went to college and then spent 2 years living in San Fran. That's how she said it, San Fran. Before coming back here. This is Tim, my boyfriend. He's been teaching here for like 2 years now. He's brilliant. Pleased to meet you, I said. Do you always paint at night? Our principal lets me use the space, but this is the first time with a model. And this is the first time I've ever modeled, the model said. Isn't it all too weird? Most certainly, I said, but what seems really strange was that in about a month this young teacher would see my Jenny in class, would teach her the basics of color, light, tint, image. Jenny spent hours filling notebooks with drawings. She'd immortalized me in crayon, a portrait of me asleep on the couch, beer cans on the floor next to me. Marilyn saved the drawing, pressed it into an album along with our wedding photos, and the novelty shot of us at the beach, standing behind cardboard musclemen. Well, I said, this is a nice little thing you've got going, but I don't want to take up any more time. I'd wiped off the best I could, and while I talked, I set up stools and easels and adjusted the chairs. Fortunately, the one easel that hadn't been knocked over held Tim's painting. On the canvas, Mary Nilsson floated on a violet sea. She sat primly, knees together, breasts tucked between two crossed arms, body slightly turned from the observer, hands nested on thighs. The strokes of the painted body were delicate, but the surrounding landscape was broad and chaotic. The effect, however, was not of a young woman threatened, as it easily could have been if the artist had been careless, but of a young woman radiating calmness. She was not under attack. The swirls seemed to retreat in the face of her indefatigable serenity, as if she were carving a path with her simple, profound posture. Her bearing made one forget that she was naked, young, beautiful, a former babysitter. I'm sorry to have barged in on you both, I said. Can we keep this between us? I'd hate for my daughter to feel strange about meeting you, Tim. No problem, Tim said. I'm sorry about the paint. Don't be, I said. It's entirely my fault. Tell Jenny I said hello, Mary said. Ask her if she... But I was gone. Past the lockers, down through the blank hallways and the closed doors in front of the auditorium, little specks of yellow dripping from the cuffs of my pants. I was all the way to the loading dock when I realized that I'd never found Miss Reese's room. Plus, I'd forgotten my shoes. Thanks. Part 6 tomorrow.